The other thing that I think is so important is redefining how we understand who we are. Like, yes, as human beings, there is a lower nature of us. There are things that we do that are bad, but there is also a higher nature, this capacity to think about others, the ability to be generous, and we have little or nothing ourselves left to give, or the power to work towards unity. History is replete with examples of people that have championed justice, that have become like architects of peace. I mean, Nelson Mandela, for example, would be one example.
Yeah,
but we all have these capacities, within us. I think the fundamentals is to really rethink who we are, how we relate to one another, and a deep recognition that we are part of one human family, period.
Being raised in Southern Africa, and of course there are different philosophies all over the continent, but for as a Southern African, the philosophy that I am thinking of now is Ubuntu, and you talk about it all the time in your lectures, in your relations to other people, and the groups that you work with. And we talked about how the modern way of living, in terms of we're moving further apart from each other as families. So that kind of village cooperation way of life that used to be many, moons ago, is now not happening anymore because, of economic reasons. It's all a bit like, so now power, we see this is evidence of how power has been defined by what you have and by money, and like, oh, so this person is really successful now, they have this really nice shiny car, what could I possibly contribute to this person's life once they've got their really, really nice house? And it's literally, it's redefining all of those things.
Exactly, because the moment that it's all zero-sum power is all about, have and have not. I'm good, not good enough.
Yeah.
Everything is based on scarcity. All of social media, I have loads of followers, you don't. So, and then what are the implications of, the human dimension to that? If you're on the not winning end of zero-sum power,
yeah,
there's so many mental health issues that start to come. This feeling of I'm not good enough, the feelings of shame, this inner critic that then starts to come, that compares yourself to another. I mean, all of these things, none of these things are conducive to real human flourishing, the real sharing of our gifts and our potentialities. And so again, comes back to like why generative power, a new redefinition of power is just so fundamental.
How are we then fostering communities and families and societies where we're all this living body, as you explained so well in your analogy of the cells each having their job?
Each one of us has an inner voice. And we're all born with that inner voice, and I think that inner voice is really our soul. Through dismissing one another or minimizing, or if this happens, for example, in the home, towards a child, then really what happens over a period of time is that voice, your ability to see through your own eyes, starts to get covered, and you start seeing through the voice of the person that's minimizing and dismissing. It's a form of oppression. It's a very subtle form of oppression. It's an emotional oppression, but you can't really, what it's doing is closing your eyes to see through the eyes of another and conforming your way of being to another. And and all this is not a cultural thing. This happens absolutely everywhere. This is what I mean by the biggest need of our time, is to move away from this culture of dominance towards this culture of partnership and collaboration. And for children in particular, but really it's for adults as well. That there's a researcher that's called Gabor Mate, and he talks about people have two essential needs: authenticity and attachment. So the need to be yourself, and also the need to connect with others. When authenticity threatens attachment, so when your desire to speak your truth and to see through your own eyes threatens your relationship, attachment trumps authenticity. When authenticity threatens attachment, so when your desire to speak your truth and to see through your own eyes threatens your relationship, attachment trumps authenticity. So basically, in zero-sum power relationships where there's someone that is stronger than you and you are the weaker one, give up your own ability to see through your own eyes for the other, because your desire for relationship, which is a natural biological human need, is stronger. And then as that continues, because so many relationships that surround us are based on these emotion minimizing, emotion dismissing, emotion disproving, which is in summary a relationship of zero-sum power, that inner voice, or our connection to our inner voice, becomes quieter and quieter and quieter. We all have a role to play in seeing through our own eyes and contributing actively to generating and applying new knowledge, and being an active participant in our own lives and contributing to the betterment of humanity. And we absolutely are hindered from doing that when we are surrounded by relationships of zero-sum power and dominance.
I had one of the biggest aha moments of my adult life when you said those words to me. I think it was a week ago, about because in the Baha'i writings we read that justice is our gift is God's gift to humanity, and literally, if we are we need to see with our own eyes. And when you said that to me, when you said, well, when you are continuously influenced in that negative way, so minimized, being dismissed, told that your feelings are not valid, you will then start to see through the eyes of the person who's oppressing you. And that goes beyond the home. This is on a micro level. It's in a maybe a verbally abusive or even physically abusive relationship. It goes beyond in society, where we see oppression in forms of women being oppressed, racial groups being oppressed. It just grows and grows and grows. Our children, are their ideas truly original? Are their imaginations pure and untainted by all the things that they're seeing around them? The implications of that are so, so deep. And then on this level that you're talking about as well, of being in an actual relationship with a person that you're seeing every day, and they're taking away your inner voice.
Yes, I mean, this is certainly the thing in relationships of zero-sum power, but in relationships of reciprocity and mutual respect, what makes a difference is that there is an honoring that we all come to the table, like with our own voice, with our own, effectively like our own soul. We're a conscious soul from the moment that, that we're born.